So part of your platform is talking about protecting constitutional rights. And we see in every day in America that we're fighting against our Constitution, and every single day this administration is trying to break it. You've made it clear, though, this campaign is not about protecting this campaign is about protecting the rights guaranteed in the Constitution. What freedoms do you think are most under threat right now, and how would you defend them while you're in the Senate?
Well, due process is the big one. And due process is fundamental to a democratic system of government. So it's kind of stupid because when I say democratic system of government, Trump MAGA type people will instantly say, oh no, it's not a democracy, it's a republic, as if that has some significance to this conversation. And it really doesn't, right? But for somewhere out in their universe, that is, a win. And so, but in a democratic society, if government can take action against you as a person, against anything you own, against your liberty, your ability to move around in society without procedures, then you are in tyranny land. You're in the land of an unaccountable government. And so our founders were aware of that because that's what monarchs are. They're unaccountable. Nobody controls them, right? They can do whatever they want, and we the people can't do anything about it. And so our founders ensured that we have due process in our system of government, that our life cannot be taken without due process of law. Our property cannot be taken, nor can our liberty. Now, there's a lot of fine print in all of that, but it certainly means that you cannot snatch someone off the street in the United States of America and ship them overseas, or I'm sorry, to Latin America to a torture chamber. That's what you cannot do under the Due Process Clause. Right? And the Supreme Court has said so. You don't have to take my word for it, right? The Supreme Court said so. And so Donald Trump, in his war against immigrants, has chosen to declare for himself the authority to decide who is entitled to due process under the law. And that defies the whole idea of what due process is. Because if the government can just decide what rights you have, then the Constitution is of no use. So due process is a big one. And, it's not hard to anticipate, let me say it that way, that if our rights to due process, any one of us can have our rights violated and nothing prevents that from occurring, then we're all at risk of that at any time. And that's really what's at stake right now in stopping Donald Trump's actions. The other one that's really at play right now is freedom of speech. And that's another cornerstone of a democratic society. You cannot control our system of government unless you have the ability to speak freely about the things that are wrong with it. And the founders understood that. That's why it's so high up in our Constitution, the First Amendment. And when Donald Trump goes after journalists, when he goes after students, when he goes after universities because of the speech that he disagrees with, he's trying to vitiate the value of the First Amendment and freedom of speech. And so that's got to stop. Now, what can I do as a senator? Well, they're constitutional protections, right? That really the courts have to uphold. But what a senator can do is talk loudly about why these rights are so incredibly important. And this is where I feel like our current incumbent, John Hickenlooper, is letting us down because he says very little about these issues. I would be going around this state rallying people in defense of the Constitution. Conservatives like to claim that issue for their own, but they've got some kind of perverted idea if they think Donald Trump is an advocate for the Constitution. Let's get to the editorial boards. Let's let the editorial boards of the major newspapers and even the minor newspapers talk about the importance of these freedoms. Because without public awareness of them, we will lose them. And we've already started to normalize that. Albrego Garcia is not in the news as much, right? And we've all sort of gotten on with our lives a little bit. And even though there's court cases pending and Trump has ignored the U.S. Supreme Court, well, we're wringing our hands, but what do we really do? We have to keep shouting from the rooftops.
Oop.
I'm sorry, my kitty just did that.
No, it's all good. We love a good cat here. Don't worry.
Why cats like to be in the middle when you're doing stuff, I don't know, but they do, right? And anyway, so it's extremely important that the highest officials in our society, and all the rest of us too, for that matter, be really serving as watchdogs on the defense of our constitutional rights.
Again, your experience and everything you've dealt with, it just delivered one of the best answers you could have given for exactly how I think a lot of people are feeling.